Hi friends, I'm Felicia. Welcome back to my channel. Today it's August 8th, so that means I'm gonna do my July wrap-up, only 8 days late. It's all good. I don't feel bad about it, so I don't care. And I actually did film this video already, and then I saw that I had something green in my teeth, so that's just my life. I had a really good reading month in July. And I seem to have started a trend where I read 10 books in a month. Last month I read more than that, but then the 2 previous months I also read 10 books. So that's pretty good. I read 4 audiobooks, 3 ebooks, and 3 physical books. And so I'm just going to start by telling you about the audiobooks that I read. The first 2 audiobooks that I listened to Princess in the Spotlight and Princess in Love, which are books 2 and 3 in the Princess Diaries series. I thought they were pretty good. I rated them both 4 stars, and it's just so entertaining to me to be back in this series that was such a favorite of mine as a teenager, and just listening to Anne Hathaway doing it, the narration is just the most perfect ever. I find it so funny to be so far removed from that. Like, that was like half my lifetime ago, being 14 and just remembering that that's what it feels like, and then just laughing at it, because really when you're 14, those things that Mia's feeling, it's exactly what you feel when you're 14. But now being so far removed from that, it's just kind of funny, and just seeing the way that Meg Cabot made it seem like she just wrote it so smart. Like, that's the only way I can think to put it, is that she wrote about that experiences and those emotions just smart. Like, I don't know, maybe you know what I mean, maybe you don't. I don't know, maybe I'm being confusing. But yeah, so I really enjoyed them. I'm listening to the 5th one right now. So spoiler for my August wrap-up, I already listened to the 4th one. They have a different narrator now. Anne Hathaway only narrated the first 3, but this narrator isn't too bad once you get used to her. But, I mean, Anne Hathaway would have been perfect. The next audiobook that I listened to was Better Than Before by Gretchen Rubin, and I gave that 3 stars. This book is about habit formation, and she kind of explores different personality types and how they go about habits, kind of what makes them form good ones or bad ones, what it would take for different personality types to switch from a bad habit and replace it with a good habit, and just stuff like that. And I quite enjoyed it. When I picked it up, I was kind of thinking about that stuff anyways, just thinking about the habits I have in my life and how I wanted to change them. And I found this book had a lot of good insights into that. I only gave it 3 stars, and maybe it was just me and the way that I was reading it, but because I was listening to it on audio at work, I would listen to it for a couple hours at a time, and I found that to start to get really annoying. It felt like a lot of info dumping, and it felt very repetitive. And I'm sure that she is a lovely person, and she just likes to help people, but a lot of her anecdotes were about her telling people what they should do to form habits, and that kind of grated on my nerves after a while. I'm like, it just came across as bossy to me. So if you're going to pick this book up, I would really recommend picking up a physical copy or ebook copy, so that you are not getting that info dumping if you want to listen to it for a long time. You can just put it down and read something else in between. I would recommend that. Yeah, if you're interested at all in like habit forming and stuff, I would recommend it. Or if you've been a fan of her previous writing. So I did listen to one more audiobook, but I'm going to talk about that later. The ebooks that I read, the first one that I read was Lizzy and Jane by Catherine Ray. I got this one for review, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It was really good. It's a story about a girl or a woman. She's a woman, she's not a girl. It's a story about a woman who is a chef in New York, and she has a really successful restaurant, but she's feeling kind of burnt out. She's lost the magic of cooking and what she feels for it. So she goes to visit her dad and her sister's family in Seattle or Portland, somewhere on that coast. The story is about family, and I really like that. And one of the main plot points is that Jane, Lizzy's sister, she has cancer. And so Lizzy helps her with like cooking and stuff around the house. And that's kind of where the plot develops out of that. If you have been around my channel for a while, you will know that cancer is very personal to me. I lost my dad to cancer about a year and a half ago, and so reading stories like this, it's just always more personal to me. And I found that the way that the author handled this family situation, how her illness affected the whole family, and seeing it from someone's eyes that was, you know, looking at the person with the illness, I found that it was very realistic. I thought that she portrayed it really well, really authentic. I appreciated the way that she portrayed that it's hard, but you still have the good moments in there and everything. And I just really enjoyed this book. It was more about family than anything else. There is a romance sideline in there, but the family aspect is the most important thing, and I really enjoyed it. I would really recommend it if you're looking for a book that's about family. It's really good, and I would recommend it. It was good, guys. Did I say that already? It was good. The next ebook that I read was The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender. It's not by Ava Lavender, and that's by Leslie Walton. And there have been a lot of people picking this up lately, and I was one of them. I gave it 4 stars. I will admit, this book seems like it would be right up my alley. It's magical realism. The Night Circus is one of my most favorite books, so I do enjoy magical realism. The beginning was just rough for me, and the first half, it was hard for me because it seemed like she was going in a weird direction, and I mean, I could have gotten that from the title because the word strange is in the title and it fits. It felt just weird to me, and so I was not sure if I was liking it, but by the end and the way that she tied everything up together and all of that, it was just great. And so that redeemed the book for me. And yeah, so I did end up enjoying it. It was strange and sad and beautiful, and like I think the title just sums it up. So yeah, it took me a couple weeks actually to figure out how I felt about it, because the first half was just so rough for me, and in the end I did enjoy it. So yeah. And then the last ebook that I read was for #TBR Takedown, and that was Homecoming by Cass Morgan, which is book 3 in the 100 series. So now I am done that series. Yay me, I finished a series. That never seems to happen anymore. I seem to just, start them and get halfway through and then start another one. I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was a really good conclusion. It's not as deep as I would like in terms of character development and the exploration of their emotions and stuff. But the story was good, and I did enjoy it. It was a good, satisfying conclusion, in my opinion. The show is way grittier and darker than the book series. They're completely different. So if you don't like the show, you might like the books. If you really like the show, be aware that the books are supremely different, but you might still like them. I've only watched a couple episodes of the second season. So the first season I liked, even though it is kind of different from what I like in TV shows. Yeah, that was that. I don't have a lot of things to say about it, so yeah. It was good. I liked it. So moving on to the physical books that I read Forever in Blue and Sisterhood Everlasting, the last 2 books in this series. Sisterhood Everlasting is set 10 years later after the end of this one. I just enjoyed being back in this series as well. Another one from my teenage years. Apparently July was revisiting my teenage books. I have never read Sisterhood Everlasting before. Forever in Blue was good. I gave it 4 stars. I'm glad that the series didn't end with this book, that there was nothing after, because I liked where she took the characters in this story. And okay, this is the other one that I listened to in audio. I listened to it at work because I just wasn't getting around to reading it and I wanted to know what happened because I hadn't read this one yet. And it just it broke my heart. It broke my heart. Apparently this got a lot of hate when it came out and a lot of people were not happy with it. And I think I would disagree. I am at the age where the characters are in this book, and so I can relate so much to their life situations and the kind of things that they're dealing with. And I mean, some of the things were just really, you still are dealing with that 10 years later. For example, spoilers if you haven't read this, just mute what I'm about to say. Lena and Costas. I just really do not like their storyline, their relationship. You met this guy 15 years ago and you can't get over him. You always want to be together. Then just be together. Just be honest with yourself then and say, I want to be with you. Just get over your issues. That storyline bothered me a lot. And again, another story where Lena and Costas are just trying to get together. But the story of this book just, it did wreck me. And by the end, I was just so emotionally full, I guess. I don't know, it just made me feel all of the emotions, all of them in the whole spectrum. I gave this 5 stars because it seriously did wreck me, and I can totally appreciate where the author was trying to go with this, and I think that she just ended it really well, and it was a good conclusion, I think. The last 2 books that I read were for hashtag TBR Takedown. I picked up Even Adam by Michael Grant and Catherine Applegate. I forgot their names. So this was the book that I chose for Out of My Comfort Zone, and because I started reading Michael Grant's Gone series, but I got 100 pages in the first book and I was like, nope. So I was afraid to pick this up, so I don't know why I bought it. I think I bought it and I didn't really realize that it was the same author. Was surprised. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 stars. Yeah, I gave it 3.5 stars. The story is about this girl who, it says it right here. What if it were in your power to create the perfect boy? And that's what the plot is. This girl sets out to create the perfect boy. But it's so much more than that. And I thought this was really unique, actually. There's a lot of sciencey things in there. And maybe they're not accurate. But I thought it was kind of unique what they were trying to do. And then after I finished this, I picked up the short story, which is called Love Sucks and Then You Die, which is free on Kindle, if you're interested. And if you look at the listing, it says that there's a bunch of stuff in there. There's 5 chapters, and you're like, wow, cool. No, the book is actually probably about 20 pages, and then the 5 chapters that you see are the first 5 chapters of the book. So, yeah. And it's a bit of a prequel short story, just kind of is recounting one event that happens to the main character, Eve. And, yeah, I feel like just lumping that in with this. I feel like they should just print it in the back of this. Maybe they do that now, I don't know. Yeah, 3.5 stars. If you've been intrigued by this, I would say give it a go. And I like the shiny cover, because I like shiny covers apparently. The last book that I read in July, and the last book that I read for the TBR Takedown, was the Dionne Years by Pierre Burton, and this was the book that I chose that had been on my shelf forever and ever. As you can tell, this book is old. I do not know where I got it from. Honestly, I don't. I don't remember if I got it from a thrift store or from a friend or if it was my mom's. Like, I don't know. So, the story about the Dionne quintuplets. They were born in 1934 on my birthday. And so that was kind of why I wanted to read it. Also, the Dionne quintuplets were a big part of Canadian history in the 30s and 40s, which I feel like I probably knew, but I didn't remember that. And so they were just like this medical phenomenon because they were identical quintuplets, just having natural born quintuplets. I think only it was said they were the third recorded instance of quintuplets at that time, and they all survived past the day they were born, which was a big deal also because they were born so premature. They were all under 2 pounds. So this story is kind of telling about the time that it happened, and it does a lot of setting the stage of the time period, which I appreciated because I didn't really know what the landscape was in the 30s beyond the Great Depression, but I didn't know like the specifics. And so this guy, the author, did a really good job of setting up the history and setting up setting the stage for the story, because I could appreciate what was going on a lot better. And it's basically about how they became instant celebrities. The whole world actually was obsessed with them. They would get letters from people from across the ocean. They would have like daily updates in their newspapers about the Dionne quintuplets. And it was just crazy. Like, if they had TV cameras back then, they would have had TV cameras in their home. Like, that's the level that it would have been, and people just loved them. And the sad thing is that within the first 24 hours of the girls being born, they were just instantly swarmed by reporters and people trying to get a story. And someone came up to them and said, "We will do an exhibit with your daughters in this World Expo or something in Chicago." And the parents were like, "Well, we don't know how we're going to feed 5 more kids. Now our family's up to 12 people from 7. And so they were like, "Okay, yeah." And then so people got really mad about that. And they were upset that the parents were going to take advantage of their daughters. So the government actually took custody away from the parents and set up like this council. But the sad thing is that the council did the exact same thing that they were afraid the parents were going to do. They took advantage of this unique situation, and they set up an actual exhibit building on the parents' property to display the kids. And they took them out of the home. They put them in a separate home from the rest of the family. The parents could come visit every day, but the care was given to doctors and nurses. And the main caregiver was actually the doctor that delivered them. And just like his level of fame and kind of the shady things that he was up to after with all this money he was getting, it was really sad and horrible. And it just made me so sad for the family and for these poor girls that grew up in a fishbowl and people always staring at them, and their lives were all just really sad. So it was fascinating to read about kind of the history of that time, what was going on, and what happened to this family that had such a unique situation happen, that the natural quintuplets without any fertility drugs or anything, you know. I would maybe recommend this to people that are interested in history or Canadian history specifically. But yeah, it's not happy, and it's not a happy story, not a happy ending. And it will make you really frustrated at people and how people can be so despicable. I'm glad that I read this because now I know a bit more about some Canadian history here, so that's good. Gosh, was that long enough? So that's all the books that I read in July. A pretty good reading month, as usual, because I'm reading based. I'm just going to wrap it up because this video is probably going to be long enough because I'm a rambly person. So I will talk to you guys another time. Bye. Oh, my leg is already asleep.